Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the Village Idiot, and a man with a car and a GoPro, and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to North Lincolnshire, and we are in the west of Scunthorpe yet again today, in one of the most heavily industrialised areas in North Lincolnshire. Welcome to Gunness. Gunness is a village in North Lincolnshire situated 3 miles west of Scunthorpe on the eastern bank of the River Trent. The population of this civil parish at the 2011 census was 2,462, which might seem a lot when you look at the map of the village. Gunness village itself is just one part of a parish that covers a lot of land to the east, and as we'll see later, some of that land has some built-up areas that are not within the main settlement. Gunness derives its name from forming a ness or promontory in the River Trent, and is much changed from the settlement that stood here in the 1800s. The earliest map of a scale large enough to show important landmarks, like churches, farms and windmills, dates to 1887, when the village's name was Gunhouse. The village changed its name from Gunhouse to Gunness sometime between 1883 and 1907. Of course, in those days, Gunness was more about agriculture than anything else. The soil was alluvial, with the chief crops being wheat, clover, oats and potatoes. Henry Wall was lord of the manor, and he, together with John Housham, were the principal landowners. There was a wharf and a jetty for the shipment of iron ore, and that wharf still exists today. At Neap, or Neap House, just to the north, was a staithe or landing place on the River Trent for farm produce. Neap House Road is the name of the road leading north parallel to the bank of the river. The village now is heavily industrial at its southern end around the A18 and the massive Keadby Bridge. A little later we'll see how busy this place is. Its location, on the River Trent, has always been an important one for river traffic heading towards the Humber and out into the North Sea. One big thing that has changed is the railway station, which is no longer here. It was shared with Burringham, as we saw in that episode. Now, you'll recall from Burringham last week that we had an old station to look at, or the site of an old station, here in Gunness. Still a reference to that station, and that's Station Road. Demographically, Gunness is 4.6 square kilometres, gives it a population density of 520.2. At 96.4%, this one is mostly white British, but there is a sizable Asian community. You'll find a pretty low number of retired folk out here too. The vast majority here are of working age. The average house price out here will surprise you. It comes in at £222,000. Now, the A18 into Scunthorpe here is quite a long road. It joins with the top of the A1077M that we saw in the Ashby Parkland episode, and Gunness does sort of stretch a long way down there towards that roundabout. I'm not going to walk down there, but we will see that later, because I do need to do a little bit of driving which will include that, and you'll see why very shortly. Gunness has a large park and playing field full of play equipment, and this all surrounds the village hall, one of the village's newest ventures. It's a little unclear online, but it seems the village hall was funded through a charity. The project received an award of £100,000 in 2014. Gunness Parish Council's website has some photos of the village hall during its construction, including some of the locals that helped make this a reality. The park is the home of Gunness Juniors Football Club too, as well as Gunness and Burringham United, the football club I briefly alluded to last week. Gunness has had 2 Methodist chapels. This one was built in 1928 and the other was on Gunhouse Lane towards Neap House, built in 1883. The Church of St Barnabas is a small and plain edifice of brick and cement in the pointed style, consisting of chancel, nave, south porch and a belfry containing one bell. It was restored in 1902 and can cater for 60 people. The register dates from the year 1851, and notice here how Burringham, once again, has a connection to Gunness. So I've said this before and I'll say it again, notice here it's the parish of Gunness with Burringham. That's the ecclesiastical parish. Gunness and Burringham are two separate civil parishes. There's a massive difference. Gunness does pretty well for local shops. What you're looking at here is a shop and post office on Station Road. The local public house is the Jolly Sailor, located on the A18. This hosts live entertainment, karaoke, bingo nights and a whole raft of other events. It's recently reopened after a period of closure. On the Doncaster Road is the Grade 2 listed rectory and stable block, built by James Fowler of Louth in 1864 to 1866. This is now Norwood House residential home. And bus-wise, Gunness is served pretty well too. There are no fewer than 7 bus services here, most of which make their way into either Scunthorpe or Goole. The Isle Greenway runs through Gunness. Using the industrial infrastructure of the Isle, this either runs alongside the Stainforth and Keadby Canal or along the old Axholme Joint Railway line. Right, so in the distance there we've got Keadby Bridge. Now, to give it its proper name, it's the King George V Bridge. And later we'll be driving across that bridge and into Keadby, because the River Trent is the parish boundary between Gunness and Keadby with Althorpe. So technically speaking, the bridge is in both parishes. It's one side's in Gunness, one side's in Keadby. So the easiest way to do that is to drive over it, and it's quite an experience, I must admit. Gunness Wharf is what we're looking at now. This is a small private wharf on the east bank of the River Trent, directly opposite a similar facility at Keadby. It's able to accommodate vessels up to a maximum length of 100 metres. The berth is serviced by mobile crawler cranes for general grab or hook work. Loading shovels assist for the handling of bulk cargoes, and there's a dedicated weighbridge and lorry wheel wash located within the site. Gunness Wharf provides a total of 4,180 square metres of undercover storage and a reasonable area of outside storage on hard standing, supplemented by the group's satellite storage facility at Althorpe, which offers a further 8 warehouses. The wharf has developed from the same wharf and jetty which existed here centuries ago, and now thrives on the cargo it imports and exports. However, this isn't the only river port within Gunness Parish. If you go up towards Neap House, you will encounter the massive Grove Port. Specialising in steel, forest products and dry bulk cargo, Grove Port is the UK's market leader for handling long steel products. It's ideally located just 3 miles from the UK's motorway network, with sea access via the Humber estuary. From this distance, you really can't appreciate the magnitude of the port. It's huge. It's certainly not as big as the Port of Felixstowe, which we saw last year, but certainly it's a big one here in Gunness. Grove Port Logistics is based just there, and yeah, apparently that is the place where iron and steel is imported or exported. Of course, Scunthorpe Steelworks is not far away from here, so it's a vital piece of infrastructure for the town of Scunthorpe. Covering 190 acres, the port is a leading import terminal for long steel products, acting as a handler, stockholder and distributor for some of the UK's major steel suppliers. It's no surprise then that Scunthorpe Steelworks is so close to this. Okay, we're done with the main walk around Gunness. The Strava map, which you'll get at the end, will show where I've walked, but I've turned it off now because everything else is going to be done by using trusty old car right here, and there's still quite a lot to see. We now need to drive towards Scunthorpe because Gunness Parish covers quite a lot of I'll call it a suburban area of Scunthorpe, and there's one really interesting thing, to me at least, that falls within that suburban area. Let's go and find it. Now we've come to the east and into the suburban area mentioned. This falls within Gunness Parish, which might explain why the average house price here is as high as it is. This part of Scunthorpe is quite busy, as we're at the top of the M181 or A1077M these days, so it's a major route to the motorway network from Scunthorpe and of course from the ports we've just seen. This area is generally residential. There are two main housing estates, one on either side of the A18, but we're here to see one thing in particular. So a lot of this eastern part of Gunness Parish, which extends towards Scunthorpe, is just housing, which you can see here, of that ilk. It's virtually all the same as that. There is a little park here too, a little multi-use sports area. But the thing I'm interested in, we need to walk down this footpath towards, and it's a rather large landmark that you'll know if you're a football fan. Glanford Park, currently known as the Sands Venue Stadium for sponsorship reasons, is a football stadium, the current home of Scunthorpe United. This is the first time we've seen a Football League club in a parish video. Opened in 1988 at a construction cost of £2.5 million, Glanford Park was the first new purpose-built Football League stadium to be built in England for 33 years, since Southend United moved to Roots Hall in 1955. The stadium is Scunthorpe's second ground, with the Iron having previously played at the old showground from 1899 to 1988. In the wake of the Bradford City disaster of 1985, it was determined that substantial improvements would have to be made to the old showground in order for it to meet new regulations. The best course of action was to move to a new stadium. Now then, if you don't know already, I come from Lincoln. And yes, I am a fan of the mighty Imps. So are you people in Scunthorpe. I'm a Lincoln City fan, so I really am behind enemy lines here. But I don't often see football grounds on the channel. So yeah, I don't mind including Glanford Park, to be honest with you. You know, to be fair, it's not a bad stadium. People from Lincoln usually describe it as a bland grey box, but frankly, I think that's a bit unfair. I think Glanford Park is actually a decent stadium, and it's certainly one of the stadiums that I'm very familiar with. I've been in there numerous times for many games between Scunthorpe United and Lincoln City. Glanford Park originally opened with a capacity of 11,190. Both of the goal ends were standing terraces. However, this capacity was later reduced to its current value of 9,088 in 1991. The name Glanford Park was derived from its funding by the then Glanford Borough Council, before North Lincolnshire became a unitary authority. Glanford Park is just one of the landmarks you'll find in this part of Scunthorpe. It's surrounded by the ever-expanding Gallagher Retail Park, located on the western periphery of the town. Gallagher Retail Park fronts the A18 and is in close proximity to the M181 and Junction 3 of the M180. The scheme is anchored by a Tesco Extra food store. The original tenant lineup when it was opened in 2002 was B&Q, Next, TK Maxx and Toys R Us, although now there are plenty of other household names here. There are plenty of food outlets here too, perfectly sited for all those match-going Scunthorpe United fans before and after the game. Of course, Toys R Us is no longer in business. Work to redevelop the former store has now transformed it into 3 separate shop units. The park is still growing too. In front of Glanford Park there's an area of brownfield land which, when built upon, will bring a leisure centre, another hotel, 5 restaurants, 3 shops and a gym. A year after plans were first revealed, North Lincolnshire Council's committee ruled on the plans in 2021. 100 new jobs led planning officers to recommend that it be given the green light. The project will give a boost to an area that's already one of the most popular in Scunthorpe for spending and eating. Do you remember at the end of the Burringham episode last week I said the next 2 in North Lincolnshire would be very big and have lots in them and be very lengthy videos? I wasn't kidding, was I? Gunness has quite a lot, and I bet there's still things I've missed, but that's what the picture bit's for. Here it comes right now. Right, there's only one more thing to do, and that's drive to Keadby, and we're going to be doing so over Keadby Bridge, as I explained earlier. So it'll be from the Gallagher retail park that I'll drive from, because I'm going to call there for some food, because I'm starving now after walking all that way around Gunness and then around Glanford Park. And then to play us out, we will drive from there down into Gunness and over Keadby Bridge and into Keadby to start the next episode. So this has been the parish of Gunness, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.